Hey everybody, and welcome back to another book review. So please ignore how awful I look. I was gone all weekend. I am recovering from being out in the rain and the cold. It's the start of fall break, so of course I took a break. But this book is a book that I've been wanting to read for a while, especially in light of the continued discussion around books that have been banned or banned booked lists and things like that. So this one is One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest by Kesey. It's a very interesting book. Let's start there. It's really interesting, and especially because in terms of mental health and dealing with the mental health world that I've experienced, it's just a really interesting take on what was going on in the 50s and the 60s with people in mental health asylums and things like that. I won't get into all the details and things, but I do have quite a bit of experience with the mental health world. But that piece aside, it is definitely a book that is a product of its time. There was a lot of things that, just knowing that the book was written in the 60s, in the 50s and the 60s, the language in it was very racially motivated. And some of it was characterization, adding to how a character may have felt about different races of people. But even the main character being half Indian, it seems wrong to me that it was written by a white person trying to emulate what native peoples sound like. And so I kind of just really struggled with that. But in the back of my mind, I was like, it was written in the 50s and 60s. Not that that's an excuse, but it was. Also, I totally understand why people have it on there, we need to ban this book or anything. I am not a fan of banning books. Books are there to cause us to think, to cause us to evaluate different elements of our own lives, but also just the general world. And I think this book especially was really hitting some cutting edge stuff with the mental health world and how we deal with people who are struggling with varying issues. Totally here for everything that this book was doing, especially in such a period where people just didn't understand. People didn't know. I think it was on the forefront of the movement of really kind of starting to evaluate some of the tactics like electroshock therapy, lobotomies, things that we always hear about being done, in that time period. So I think discussing that in a book gives us the ability to have civilized conversations about it. That said, I totally understand why people want this on the banned book list. I totally get it. And from an educator perspective, I don't know what high school would be reading. Why would you read this in a high school? I get that kids need a broad spectrum of books. They really do. And not to say that, you can't encourage a kid to maybe choose to read this on their own. But as a class discussion, even in a senior course, that's kind of pushing it to me for public schools. So I would not be a fan of this being used in a public school. And I know I'm going to get flack for this. And you know what? I don't care. This is a college level discussion book to me. I definitely think it's worth having classroom conversations, but at a higher level, not any lower than a college. It just doesn't make sense to me. There's a lot in the book, and I was cracking up because when I bought the copy that I have, it says I don't know if you guys can see. This is 6th grade level. And that's because reading level wise, I could totally get behind this being a 6th grade level book. Like, it's a quick read. Don't get me wrong. But like, I would never read this with a 6th grade class. There's too much going on, and too much nuance to me, for a 6th grader to understand. Definitely an older teen, you know, I would definitely, if my own child were to come to me, depending on their age, and say, hey, I want to read this book, I would not be against it if they were on the older teen side, but I would not want them to necessarily be reading this in class and having classroom discussions, because there's just no way to get around some of the topics in the book. And I'm sure we could have, you know, tons and tons of arguments about a bunch of other books that are being read. That said, overall, I think that I would probably give this a 3, just because like the story itself is really good. I just really struggle with the racial language, and descriptions of varying characters. Like, you know, like a lot of times when authors are writing, the way that they describe their characters, especially when there is a racial component to it, kind of gives away how they personally feel. And so to me, it didn't make sense that there were like 3 different terms used to describe varying levels of Black and brown people. It didn't work for me. Sorry. The other side of it is that, while it's a very easy read, it's some very heavy material. I don't necessarily think that the author himself fully understood what the main trajectory was that he was going down. It was almost like he was trying to tell 2 different stories to me. Which, I mean, there are basically 2 main characters. And, you know, one is, instead of having like a true, because there is a villain, but like, it's a villain that's almost so not really important, but is important. It's weird. So there's just a lot going on that like I kind of struggled to grasp what was going on the first little bit of the book. But then like once the book got going, I was like, yeah. So yeah, that's probably why I gave it a 3. But in terms of on the banned book list, why is this on the banned book list? I don't know. Like I know, but I don't know. Like it should never be banned. It should never be banned from a library. It should never be banned from a kid having access to it. I just would not read it in a academic class until college. That's just my thought and opinion on it. So there you have it. Sorry, slightly longer book review there, but I had a lot of thoughts on it. I also I listened partially to the audiobook that was read by I'm gonna like forget his name. John Krasinski? No, that's not right. I don't remember. I'll put it in the thing. But I did did listen to some of the audiobook. And while I like that actor, especially because I just feel like he's a good actor in the things that I've seen him in, I was not a fan of the use of accented voices in terms of race, even though the book is written like that. Just wasn't a fan of it. I wasn't a fan of the way he did it, I guess. But I did enjoy the parts of the audiobook that I did listen to. So yeah, there you have it. As always, please continue to share book suggestions. I know some of you guys have shared book suggestions in the past. It's taken me a while to get through them. I'm trying to work through all the things. I got like 5 different lists going on, guys. I finally combined them all into one list. I'm trying to get through it. It just takes me a little while. And then I've got like things that I'm reading for other reasons, you know, so just kind of bouncing around on the reading stuff. But hopefully everybody is still enjoying listening to and watching the book reviews. I enjoy doing them, and I will continue to do them until, you know, somebody decides that they don't want to. But I hope that everybody is really enjoying this. Again, like I said, please continue to send your suggestions, and I will do my best to get through them. It just might be next year. And then, of course, as always, if you would like to like and subscribe, you're welcome to do that as well. This is pretty much all I do on here. Occasionally, you'll find like an education video or something that I did and saved it to my YouTube for the purpose of classroom engagement and stuff like that. But outside of that, it's pretty much all that's on my YouTube. So hopefully people are enjoying it. And of course, feel free to comment whatever your thoughts are. I know this is a very popular book, so I'm assuming a lot of people are going to have a lot of different thoughts on it, and I'm happy to have civilized conversations because anybody who knows me in person knows that I'm not afraid to cut your throat when it comes to word battles. But I'm totally up for varying conversations on this book because it's got a lot in it. It's got a lot in it, and it is a great discussion starter. Really great. But there you have it. So I will see you next time in the book review world. Bye.